Maybe, maybe a small spider is climbing on the pack of one of the party members. Just possible. Or as the players make their way to the next town, they see webs entangled in the trees and shrubbery. Or they meet passersby, someone injured on the side of the road, bitten maybe by a poisonous spider. But maybe that's not enough to alert the players to what day it is. But maybe when they enter into the city and they see the gates and they see the twisted metal shaped like four arachnid legs, or they go into the center square and mounted on the backs of giant spiders are guardians there wearing cloaks woven from spider silk, or there are travelers with backpacks from a faction, and they are not just backpacks, but they are essentially carrying swarms of spiders on their backs because they have been chosen by the cult to take care of the small spider younglings. But whatever the case may be, you probably already know today is the day of spiders. So let's get into it. Hey guys, hey creatives, community, and kind folks, welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today is the Day of Spiders. I'm just going to give a slight preamble before we get deep into our own subject. For those who do not know, there was a 4-hour live stream about the heroines or heroines labyrinth in opposition to the hero's journey with the writer Douglas A. Burton. Those details can be found on that video. It's 4 hours long. I didn't expect it to go that long. I didn't want to take the gentleman's time, but he seemed enthusiastic, and we had a talk before then, so it was actually closer to like 5 hours for us, which is really really wild. So if you have the endurance, the mental endurance to go through that, I wish I could afford to pay for a um, editing service to chop it up and then make it into chapters and things like that. Anyway, but it's it's great. It was a great conversation with us, and I'm always enthusiastic about these kind of things. So, and I hope I was able to keep up the energy for that long. But today is the Day of Spiders, and of course, as streaming, uh, going below the channel, he says the day of, and it is a series of unscripted live broadcasts dedicated to basically a a prompt. And today we're going to talk about spiders, and of course, absolutely, of course, spiders are one of these. First of all, it's a common fear. It is. I mean, when we talk about like top 10 fears of societies, um, arachnids and insects fall into that category. And for some reason, specific types of these creatures fall into the fear category. Like spiders have their own podium, right? Which is actually true because the word insect actually doesn't apply to arachnids scientifically, if I'm not mistaken. So, but we, you know, for someone like me, a layman, I just put them all together, right? They just remind me of all like bugs and pests and insects. But spiders fall into a strange category because they feed on other insects primarily, and they get caught in their web. But spiders also represent, it's one of these animals, creatures, monsters that also represent so many other things. We think of spiders. Um, yeah, Vince says, yeah, no, arachnids are not insects technically. Yep. And spiders also have they represent something else socially, a psychological thing in our minds. We know spiders create webs, which means that they lay in wait and they put their webs in places where they know they can find the greatest prey. We also think of spiders as having their tendrils into everything. We think of spiders in terms of storytelling and oracles, and that the webs of a spider are the physical representation of a an entity that is so intelligent that it can have its reach into so many lives, like as if it's spinning. Uh, um, its physical web is spinning the way our lives move and our connections with other people. So they represent a deeper, not just a deeper fear, but a representation of our strings being pulled? Are we being led into a web of deceit, deception, and such? And in pop culture, we've seen plenty of spider motifs when it comes to those who are patient and brilliant and have kind of an alien intelligence about things, that they think in they don't think in immediacy. They think an entity that thinks in fourth dimensional thinking, fourth, fifth, sixth dimensional thinking, where they're always ahead. And so on the day of spiders, these individuals or their machinations, or individuals who believe in conspiracy theories and things, on this day, those things might be true. Again, we're just here for mind fuel. So I try not to do any research on any of this kind of stuff. We're here to take your ideas. And so guess what? If you're here live on YouTube or Twitch, heck, even, I should throw in a Discord too. My brain. Or even Facebook. You're able to find on Facebook. Please join in. But right now, we're going to go see what our co-hosts have to say. Let's see. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. Yeah. TA is like, hey, so has someone made a drought comment already? Yeah. I mean, and listen, the drow exists simply because spiders are cool, right? In a fearful, a nasty kind of way. But of course, you're going to have a society of people wrapped around spiders. If they, it's a rose by any other name would still be a rose, right? If the drow didn't exist, they would exist in some other method and still become the drow, right? If they hadn't done it first, someone else would have done it first if they didn't exist. So yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Spiders, book based upon the Portia spiders, which are already very intelligent for a spider. Hunting jumping spiders. Yeah, spiders, so many different types too. Vince says it was very cool seeing, talk about the book series he's reading. Very cool seeing the difference in thinking between spiders and humans. Yeah. Yeah, Vince is chopping up that 4 hour live stream in chapters is not really that hard. Yeah, well, it's not really the difficulty; it's the time and put into it. Well, I don't. Yeah, well, I already got a thumbnail for that one. I think spiders are just slightly behind snakes. Yeah, when it comes to fear. Mm-mm-mm. Yep. And Anderson says, yeah, right. Scorpions are close to them as they are. Don't match up either, as they are more like crustaceans or crabs. Yeah, I. You know what? I find it really hilarious and funny how nature gives us a thing, and then it always gives us an exception to it, right? Yeah, insects have 6 legs, and arachnids have 8. Mm. And of course, Drew has to make it even worse. Not Drew didn't specifically say this, but yeah, spiders might feed on other insects, but wait until you find out about the wasps that put their eggs into spiders. Ooh. Mm-mm-mm. Thomas Anderson says, I would not see them as tendrils into things. Who would you see them? But connections to, and thus know when something happens due to their network of their webs. Yeah, I guess that's what I meant, right? Like it was just a phraseology, but like the idea that a not just a physical spider, but like a an individual or a presence or an entity has links to so many other things that they know when and where something will happen, as if like a tripwire. Someone does a thing in a certain place at a certain time, and it sets off a chain reaction, and this person knows, they did decide to go down the path of or connect with or have dinner with so and so. So means that these other three things are going to happen because this person made a choice because they happen to make a dinner reservation, and things like that go on. And I like the idea that there's we often think of demons and devils as being like flames and red skin and monstrous and such, but when it comes to D20 warlocks and deities for clerics and even spellcasters that draw their power from beyond the mortal realm, I could see a spider or spider-like motif coming, giving someone power, and maybe even the player characters are like just one cog in an 8-cog wheel or something, where maybe they are connected to 7 other entities, but they don't know it, but they want to gain that vast knowledge of how the universe works. I love it. Drew says, I like spiders. If I see one in my home, I leave it be. But well, in my country, there are no spiders that could be dangerous to humans. And yeah, my significant other is yeah, I mean, it's pretty common. People don't like to have spiders around them, right? But I will say that like it's pretty common for people to go, oh, spider, kill it. But in many gardens and homes and such, if spiders are there, they are actually there to, it means that in some instinctual level, they are there to stop other insects and maybe other flying insects, or they're putting up a web to stop them from maybe entering the home or eating some of your plants and such. So, uh, while they haven't chosen to protect the home, they have chosen to find an area where they think they're going to get a lot of insects. And I know because I'm a letter carrier, and as I'm walking up and down the streets and going to different homes, I've run into spider webs so many times. It's eerie and ungodly, but it happens because don't get a bush or an archway or something that's real close together. A spider will string a web or a couple of webs through that all night long, and here goes my face, boom, right to the web. So a lot of times I have to do like the forearm in front of the face, the hand in front of the face when I walk through narrow locations, especially when someone has like tall blocking hedges or something, and because it happens all the time. And I hate to ruin their projects, but it's like I got to deliver this mail. TA says, if you have not seen a real black widow, you would be surprised how diverse their patterns can be, from yellow hourglasses to repeating half glass, so it looks like red heart shapes on them. Oh yeah, the idea of let's see if we can find some of these. Uh, T, let's get some. Let's see if we can get some images of different types of spiders. For anyone that's like got a little bit of a phobia, um, you might not want to see this. All right, yeah. Um, Oh, yes, Vince. Vince says, cool spiders. There is a water spider that creates air bubbles in their netting to dive. I've heard about I mean, I've never actually seen any, but yes, that they they're able to like grab air bubbles, or like make a web that holds air bubbles, and then they're able to use it and carry it with them to breathe underwater, something like that. That Yeah, Deadman says, if the drow didn't exist, the Ogi, excuse me, the Neogi would have been made mainstream. Choose spider elves or spider eels. Yeah, absolutely. It would. It's so common. I think of a type of trope of spiders having something to do with uh, having some involvement with fantasy and magic and things like that, that I don't think that it's not very uncommon for spiders to be, in arcane. Um, let's see, that's Shutterstock. It's gonna, let's see if we could put something like this up there. Um, but yeah, it wouldn't be that uncommon to see spiders in fantasy and arcane things, especially with mythology, having spiders deal with the webs of intrigue and a mysterious hag that has a spider motif would be very common. Let's see, Wikimedia. Let's see if we can find yeah, just share this tab instead. Let's do that. Get ourselves a bunch of spiders. I mean, and listen, when it comes to boy, that's a big blank space right there. Mm, maybe that's a little bit better. All right. Um, Vince says another cool spider. All right, okay. There is a bird. There is a bird dung crab spider that imitates the look and smell of bird crap to repel predators and attract victims. There's another one. Okay. There is a mirror spider that looks like it has a lot of tiny mirrors on their shell. Ooh, ooh, that's kind of sweet. I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna find that in a minute. The peacock spider has beautiful patterns. Wow. The reason I know so much about the patterns is due to capturing black widows and releasing them nearby in bushes and such, so they can continue to kill off those dreaded mosquitoes. You see, that's the other thing, that spiders actually good, and we've seen in pop culture where the spider is a very, almost seems like a neutral entity of sorts, right? Like, we shouldn't trust them, but also they have the influence and knowledge and patience to do a thing. Um, Charlotte's Web was is an animated show that I used to watch every year as a kid, and how Charlotte the spider would spin uh, uh, words to save this pig's life, and the spider would spin these words into the webbing, and the pig was friends with Charlotte and the other animals on this farm, and it kind of told this story. It's really nice and heartbreaking, and it kind of at the end. Spoiler alert for something that's super super old. Um, let uh, let's see. Charlotte's Web. Let's see. E.B. White. Let's see if we can find it here. Mm-mm. It's Wilbur. There it is. Um, yes, children's story. Charlotte's Web is a book of children's literature by American author E.B. White and illustrated by Garth Williams. Written in White's dry, low-key manner, Charlotte's Web is considered a classic of children's literature enjoyed by readers of all ages. The description of the experience of swinging on a rope swing at the farm is an oft-cited example of rhythm in writing, as the pace of the sentences reflects the motion of the swing. In 2000, Publishers Weekly listed the book as the best-selling children's paperback of all time. And then there's a big plot summary. As the summer passes, Charlotte ponders the question of how to save Wilbur, Charlotte being the spider and Wilbur being the little piglet. At last, she comes up with a plan which she proceeds to implement. Reasoning that Zuckerman, I believe the farmer, would not kill a famous pig, Charlotte weaves words and short phrases in praise of Wilbur into her web. Charlotte weaves the words "some pig" into the web, and the next morning, Lurvy sees the web and runs to find Mr. Zuckerman. This makes Wilbur and the barn as a whole into tourist attractions, as many people believe the webs to be miracles. After that, Charlotte weaves the word "terrific" into the web, and then the whole thing starts up again. Charlotte then tells Templeton, a barn rat, to get another word for the web. He goes to the dump and finds the word "radiant." which she then weaves into her web, and it goes on from there. Yeah, pretty interesting. Let me get back to what you guys have to say. Mm-mm-mm-mm. The adventure feel while delivering the mail. I don't want that adventure feel there, Drew. Deadman says the water spider traps air in its hairs. It's called the diving bell spider. I'm gonna get. I'll get an image of that because that's pretty. Hopefully, we'll be able to capture a good image, or someone capture a good image so I can show you guys. Um, in one of my worlds, the White Widow goddess is a spider goddess of protection and home. Her spiders protect homes from evil insect spirits. And that's the thing about spiders, right? Like they do have a dual purpose if they become a bit misunderstood. And I think they could fill the same role in our tabletop role playing games where, like the mysterious hags or sphinxes, they kind of represent an entity that has a supernatural access or awareness of things that are happening, and could very easily represent, you know, turn against them, and they could be very devious, but needing their help and being an ally, or at least understanding why they exist, or what their purpose is, they could be very great allies for the player characters instead of the adversaries. Excuse me. And it's kind of cool to want to be like a spider rider, or a person whose spells or magic, access has a spider like motif where, a player character has, I don't know, tattoos of a spider, and those spiders become real and crawl off the PC, and they can see through their eyes. Or, instead of having a horse or a camel or an elephant, maybe a wolf as a mount. Maybe it's just described or flavored like a spider or something of that nature. Heck, having a cloak of woven, spider silk or something would be awesome. And of course, collecting that stuff is pretty awesome as well. And then spiders, because spiders have there's so many different types. In fantasy gaming, we have spiders. There are different types of spiders. There's giant spiders and wolf spiders and trapdoor spiders and extremely poisonous spiders. And of course, spiders are very. There's some like the tarantula that are very hairy, and then there's some that seemingly have, with our own naked eyes, seem to have none, just a hard carapace. Although they do have very sensitive hairs. I don't know what the hairs are called, but tend to be, yeah, Drew. Tend to have details on it. Drew brings up, speaking of spider deities, I liked Anansi in the American gods. Yes, in African culture, there is a god or goddess, um, non. Let's see, tale from there it is. Let's see if we can find. Let's see. Anansi the Spider, A Tale from Ashanti. Writer, and there are various books. 84%. Okay. Let's see what this. Uh, let's see. Anansi literally translates to spider. Is an Akan folk tale character and the god of stories, wisdom, knowledge, and trickery, most commonly depicted as a spider in Akan religion. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Uh, uh, with consensus, taking the role of trickster, he is also one of the most important characters of West African, African American, and West Indian folklore. Originating in Ghana, these spider tales were transmitted uh, to the Caribbean by way of the transatlantic slave trade. Anansi is best known for his ability to outsmart and triumph over more powerful opponents through his use of cunning, creativity, and wit. Despite taking on a trickster role, Anansi is often portrayed as a protagonist. And then he talked about the origin and social relevance. Anansi stories were part of an exclusively oral tradition, and Anansi himself was often seen as synonymous with skill and wisdom in speech. Um, there's quite a little bit of information here. Popular Anansi stories. Ashanti Anansi stories, how the Sky God stories came to be Anansi stories. I don't know if it's Wikipedia, so it's possible that some of this, but there's quite a bit of information here. Somebody put down a lot of information. I hope it's been referenced. There's a lot of references here, so but very cool, very very, and again, even like a trickster, knowledge, wisdom, um, uh, that kind of thing. I think it's really cool to have this kind of this presence, because spiders seem to have this presence where they're dangerous but not aggressive in the fantasy style of aggression, right? Spiders don't tend to come across as angry, bestial, instantly provoked, and such. They more seem like territorial, or if you give them some kind of intelligence, that if you offend them in some kind of way, or misalign yourself with what they are trying to do or accomplish, or you somehow don't fit into the woven tapestry of the story or the machinations being told, yes, then you can be attacked by other spiders. And then this isn't this is cool for us mind or mind fuel, maybe not so cool for people who don't like spiders, but also we very easily imagine spiders of different sizes and shapes and capabilities and things. So like a mother spider carrying on its back other smaller spiders, or a faction or a cult dedicated to the spider, and them having cloaks of spider webs and living in a haven that has spider webs that can drop or entangle the PCs from the ceiling, along with little baby spiders that might be crawling on their shoulders and are using them, and then are riding on the backs of giant spiders. We can get, and then of course, you know me, I love exploration and throwing something into the environment that changes something. Having enemies that crawl on the walls and ceiling of a place that keeps them out of reach of the player characters, and using height and distance and such, especially if you have spider riders that are from the ceiling that can drop down on spider silk and attack the PCs and draw them back up. There's even a monster, the cave fisher. Cave fisher technically isn't a spider, but the cave fisher is kind of derived from that. It sits up on high. The cave fisher is more crab-like, shoots something down at someone, and then draws that character up into the air, and then of course they become. Let's see if I can find it. If there's an old picture, um, cave fisher. Let's see if we can get some images here of a cave fisher. Um, oh wow, there's a number of pictures. I'm kind of amazed. That's not a very common monster. It's pretty very old school. Let's see. Forgotten Realms wiki probably has a number of these images here. Bait and switch. Kobold Press. There's a hopefully you can hopefully my big old head isn't in the way. There's a warrior fighting with like a lance or something, fighting off the cave fisher, and right behind them is a roper. And it's like, yeah. But yeah, cave fishers, while they're crab like, very spider like in their spit something down, attack the PCs, draw them up into the air. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. All right, let's get back into our co-host here. Let's see. Vince says, in a book from Walter um, Mauers, there is a spider called Snow White Widow, ooh, which is described as almost supernatural, and her poison produces a beautiful death. Ooh, wow, she's almost supernaturally fast and graceful, and seeing her alone can make you uneasy. In the story, she is trapped by the main antagonist. She is described as more like a ghost or minor deity. The book is called The Alchemaster's Apprentice in English. Ooh, that's cool. And yeah, a spider that requires, I mean, how many stories can we come up with this, with using a spider as kind of a bit of a mission giver, a quest giver, and a protagonist kind of. Maybe the player characters are told on the Day of Spiders that they must weave together individuals' personal lives, because the tendrils or the webbing or whatever has been frayed more in more of a supernatural sense. It could also be that there's an ancient spider, intelligent creature or something like a sphinx that can give players a bit of knowledge if only they could help them um, weave together physically their web. Or maybe it's necessary for the players to navigate a place with a bunch of webs and things, so that players, they don't want to get captured, they don't want to be stuck in the webs, but they must be able to climb upon them, like rope bridging it. Or what's the oh there's a place called Sesame Place, where you have these giant towers made of rope netting, and you can play amongst the rope netting and such, and they're pretty high locations, but a lot of it's kind of cool. Um, Deadman says in ancient Egypt, the goddess Neith was associated with the spider as the spinner and weaver of destiny. Yep. As a deity, the goddess Neith wove the entire world into being with her loom. That's another bit of imagery. The idea that a spider weaves, it's like you weaving a tapestry or a loom, and I would think it would be very cool for a player to have a tapestry, a cloak, maybe a map of sorts that's woven out of spider silk that they can open up, and maybe it's very lightweight. Of course, anything, any mundane thing that we can think of that's formed from spider silk itself would seem to be very durable but extremely lightweight, and have some kind of arcane touch to it. Vince says spiders can be surprisingly intelligent. The Portia spider hunts other spiders, and she can, for example, imitate the movement of prey by touching another spider's web and aim her jump very precisely. Ooh. I wonder if you could reflavor or create a player character vocation, profession, character class, or something that uses a technique like that, like in battle or combat or exploring or something. They can use like webs. They have like a ability to use a webbing or a spinner or something like that to latch themselves to places, to crawl from one place to another. Maybe with a number of these this spider silk, they can make a bridge that other player characters could travel across. Maybe someone who is injured or dying needs to be saved, and they can wrap the PC up in a cocoon to keep them from dying. There's also the idea of maybe spinning a web to carry heavy loads, but spin it all and stick it together and carry it on their back, stuck to the webbing, so that they can carry more items or equipment. I could see even, like, this would be kind of nasty, kind of strange, but maybe the player character can mentally or psychically talk with their other player characters by depositing a spider maybe on the side of the neck or on the head or shoulder of one of their player characters, right against their ear or something, with the spider limbs touched to their eye and nose and mouth and ear, and they can like kind of see and hear through each other's um, uh, through each other's sensory perceptions or something. Like, I think you could really flavor a character like that, and I wonder if someone of this character type could kind of control the battlefield. Like, I'm going to strap a web across the bottom of the door, and I'm going to throw a web across the side of the room, and when an enemy crosses it, something happens. They pass out, they get entangled, they are electrocuted. There's it the alarm spell is a very common one in Dungeons and Dragons, and maybe that's how a player character spins a web around the party while they're out adventuring or camping, and within the trees, of course, like stringing a piece of a thread and attached to a bell. The player character is nice and sleep, and someone breaks through, or just their ankle just pushes the gets tripped into the spider thing, and they instantly wake up. I don't know. I think it'll be awesome. American Gods. TA says, honestly, I wish American Gods had put out more seasons, which I haven't seen that show. Hopefully, they are not done with that because it seems far from over. Last I saw of it. Also, I think story wise, a player character that has a spider motif. What a great way that they have their their webs are linked into other a story. It's an excuse to have a story element. They have webs attached, maybe by a greater patron, into other things in life. And when one of those webs is pulled or snaps, that player is alerted to a thing to have to go deal with a thing to solve a thing, right? I.e., it's an excuse for the storyteller to say, "Hey, PC, there's something pretty important that you need to take care of." Um, yeah, Deadman says a new Ranger variant. I could see that. A Ranger variant for a more physical ability, especially a Ranger that can scale, very easily scale things vertically and upside down. Absolutely having a familiar, a pet, a partner, partner in crime, depositing things. Maybe of course, maybe a spider could be told to go on a mission, like a crawling drone that can deliver potions or other spell-like effects for the player characters. Heck, even a bard. I think even a bard would fit into this. Maybe, a bard seems to be a minstrel, music, poetry, but not necessarily. We a bard that is more silent and has lore and knowledge, and their inspiration mechanic is a spider that crawls and sits upon the shoulder of a player character that helps them, maybe by biting them, moves them into a different position to save their hide, where they get that the bardic inspiration mechanic is more of like, hey, you made my leg flinch, but I was able to dodge that dart or something like that, or save myself, or my arm, before I fall off the cliff, I grabbed the edge of the cliff with my arm, and if it wasn't for that 1d4 that you gave my character, my arm would have slipped. But I can't. I'm a wizard. I don't have a high strength, but I don't know. Your spider bit into my arm, so I don't even feel it. I don't know. Something. I don't know. Pulling that out of my ass. Maybe that's not the greatest one, but whatever. Drew says if you create spider-themed characters, better stay away from superheroes since the Spider-Verse will surely already have whatever spider you can think of covered. Yeah, yeah, that is the case, and of course, Spider-Man being people fear spiders, so there's been the public where they feared Spider-Man, and of course Spider-Man has always fought people like Man Spider, and there's all kinds of variations with Spider-Man. And of course there's so many of them in the Spider-Verse, which is kind of funny because I believe there is a character by the name of Madam Web, and let's see if we can find some Madam Web, not release date, trailer. Let's get some images of Madam Web. I know that they plan on trying to do a movie, um, and there we go, Madam Web, and in this character began. Here's an older picture. Let's try this picture here. There's an older picture of Madam Web who is it's a mix of high technology and psychic ability and being able to see through time and space to see other variant iterations and effects and things, and of course comes across, let's see, there's another image here, um, and of course comes across as very mysterious, but of course infiltrating herself into Spider-Man's life, and you can tell many stories about things that may or may not happen. Marvel database, there's another image here, um, Marvel database from fandom and such. And so this character Madam Web is pretty much um, encompasses this idea of an individual. Now, I think in recent times in the comic books, instead of her being elderly and blind, that they have made it so that she's a bit younger, more agile. And of course, we've had like Spider Woman and Spider Gwen and all these other different types of characters that are related to spiders. And of course, having a character that is like partially blind makes it's like, yeah, maybe their eyes are gone, but of course they can see so many other things. Someone created an image here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's a bit of an image there for a movie. I'm sorry guys. Try to get. Mm-mm. Oh yes, there is a version of this. Yeah, with Spider-Man is my favorite. He is a swarm of intelligent spiders in a superhero costume. There's a version of that character that exists in the Spider-Verse. Which is why he can't be with Mary Jane. He's just a swarm of spiders, which would be a very interesting uh, and kind of cool antagonist for player characters. Like um, a this would make for a very great ability to reskin, reflavor a type of a ghost or wraith or undead creature like a lich. Imagine the big bad is basically made up of just is basically a giant swarm of spiders, cloaked, of course, maybe dressed or something, and these spiders release from the this antagonist, and that spider, when seen upon the face or head or shoulders of other enemies within that the player characters come across. Like imagine ending every story with an epilogue where the dead big bad evil guys there and the PCs are getting treasure and they're adventuring and stuff, and then in the corner away from the dead body is a spider that crawls away and whatever, and when it crawls away it grabs onto a web in a distant realm. The big bad is, there's a twinge, or the spider escapes and crawls into the body of the big bad, and the big bad is like, a worthy adversary, okay. And maybe this adversary is like um an not an enemy but an adversary, someone who is challenging the player characters or is trying to pull the threads of time and space to make a thing happen, knows the player character is involved and is kind of honored that they're there. And maybe even the big bad can send messages of words woven into spider silk that the players come across, mentioning their names or their capabilities or something. And the players are like, there's someone around here. And they never know. And you could very easily reskin like a mind flayer or something like that as well, I think. uh, Thomas Anderson's thinking of that whole cocooning of something like silk just reminds me of the cotton candy cocoons from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I haven't seen that, but wow, cotton candy cocoons with Killer Clowns. I guess that makes sense. That's wild. Yeah, Vince says in Astrocitas, one of my players has a character like this. His race consists of a swarm of different symbiotic spiders that create a single humanoid shape. He gets stronger by getting new spiders. Yep. Hey, squad, what's going on? One of the squads here. Hey. Yep, the show American Gods is based on the novel by Neil Gaiman, and I haven't seen it. Is it? I think American Gods is on like Showtime or something like that. What, you guys have seen the show? Ooh, my nerd cred is really dropping here. American Gods is a neat show. It feels like they've been close to the end. I would guess fourth and final season would do the job. Sadly, there's no production at all since nobody has picked it up. Yeah, and with the writers and actors strike, oof. I agree with that. Yeah. Neil's very much the next Clive Barker when it comes to new and innovative storytelling. Yeah, Clive Barker, Frank, um, uh, Frank Miller. Yeah, definitely. Druden says, I think it is a very different Madam Web, but they have some names used multiple times, even just within the 616 universe, within the 616 universe. Absolutely. I mean, listen, we've seen, first of all, if you read comic books at all, you know they reskin, reflavor, repurpose, reboot plenty of characters with the same names, or the same character with different names, or two different variations of the same character with different names and different, they retcon. I think it would be kind of cool on the Day of Spiders for people to be able to retcon the things in their life by beseeching the Spider Queen or whatever, not the Drow Spider Queen, but like a spider entity to go back and to basically go back on the web of their life, change something or do something or see something to then bring it forward. Basically, the physical representation of changing time and space, or making what was true a lie or a lie a truth, and it becomes physically possible. Maybe a player character that was like a halfling, the next time they meet that NPC, right? I'm sorry, the NPC was a halfling last time. Today they are a Goliath, and they're like, wasn't that character a halfling? And as a dungeon master, you're like, nope. And you're like, wait a minute, did something change? And the halfling that got bullied is now like a, I don't know, a hill giant or something like that, and wants to like beat their bullies about the head and shoulders because they were able to change something or beseech something. Maybe those nasty spider eggs and such. Like, I could imagine a cult that's dedicated to the spider, and a small spider is given to them that allows them to gain some kind of benefit, but in turn they have to bring something back to stick into the web to feed the Spider Queen and her children, or what have you. Heck, maybe if you fail her, or maybe it doesn't matter whether you fail your service or not, you're going to be food for the spider babies when the eggs hatch inside of your stomach, you know, crawling out of your mouth or whatever. Every time the PCs kill a minion, their body crawling out of their eyes and nose and open wounds are tiny little spiders. That's a good BB. That's a good BFF type creature. You kill a thing and then it explodes into smaller things. Yeah, Thomas Stern says it's like he explains the godlike purpose and reason for something like the body politic. He's very good at explaining um, fairy tales and weaving together modern psychology into ancient tales, and I like that. Sorry, I mean, it's like explaining the reasoning behind what caused the events in body politic, where body parts are separating from human bodies and running off as their own entities and such. Ouch! Like the scene where the dude chops his right hand off, and after it falls and hits the ground, it bounces and flips over like a bloody five-leg spider and runs off. Ooh, that's a good way to describe it for a player character as such too. Now pull back to a war between old and new gods that is causing the humans and other organisms' body parts to suddenly go to war with their host bodies and such. It aired on Stars. Thank you there, Dead Man Stars. And you can watch it on Stars. Very cool. Yeah, be careful not to get caught in a web of lies. Hey, that's saying a web of lies could be pretty important on the Day of Spiders, right? Like, um, it would be interesting for, what if on the, because this could deal with the Day of Lies, right? Like, if uh, if you start telling too many lies on the Day of Spiders, suddenly little bits of tendrils of things start coming out of your mouth and maybe starts gumming yourself up, or you start walking and it's like threads just starts coming off your fingers and out from under your clothing and your feet, and you get caught or something in your own lies, in the web of your own lies. That would be kind of cool as a difference than, what's the spell, Zone of Truth. Instead, it's like the whole day is like that, and the more lies you tell, the greater chance a spider entity will come out. So maybe the people during the Day of Spiders, they small spiders, big spiders, spiders the size of cats, dogs, hell, elephants and such, walk amongst the people, and the people here, they realize, like, listen, don't tell any lies. You're not going to have to worry about it. Maybe they even have a bond with spiders of some sort, physically or psychically or something. But if you start telling lies and the spiders start coming after you, that's your fault. family members warning their young folk not to commit certain things, and the young folk are like, that's just a wives' tale, and they start. Did you spill the milk? No, I didn't. Spider crawls up their leg. Well, it was Joey that did it. Another spider crawls up the leg. Okay, it wasn't Joey. I mean, I didn't really spill it. What had happened was five more spiders come dangling down from the ceiling. Uh, I think character class wise, like Ranger would fit, Rogue would fit really well as like a ninja styled spider like character. But I mean, you could almost frame just well, maybe Barbarian might not fit exactly, but I think hell, a spider themed herald or paladin would be pretty cool too. Their smite isn't like energy or flames or light or something. I would give a player character the ability to change what instead of radiant damage or something, they smite someone and then like spiders appear on the wound and go after them or whatever. That'd be pretty nasty. I throw my dagger or shoot an arrow or something, and when it hits them, boom, and then all of a sudden it just the wound hits, it explodes with spiders. Vince says, I once had the idea of creating a spider-themed caster in D&D, where every spell he temporarily summons a spider that does the spell. Exactly. So Fireball would be a fire spider, and a web a giant weaver spider. I think that's great. I would definitely do that. Like you could even have a um, ghostial, like more of an anime theme, like whenever they start using their magic, behind them and around them would be like a ghostial form of a spider, and that when they cast their spells, the spider's legs or mandibles or whatever reach out and touch that person to do a thing. So like charm monster would be the ghostly spider reaching out its limbs, or a spider leaps out from the spellcaster and lands upon their face. It sucks on the side of their face and controls their mind or whatever. Yeah, Vince says he would have a spider familiar which casts the cantrips from its shoulder. Hell yeah. Hells yeah. I didn't cast a spell, the spider did. And you could even, in a way, I see that. I see that, like the movie Idle Hands. Yeah. I could even see like the character isn't choosing to cast a spell, but the spider is doing a thing that the player character is benefiting from. So you as the player know what's going on, but the character doesn't know what's going on, which would be kind of fun. Like a cleric. You could play a cleric that way too, where the cleric worships a god, but the cleric closes their eyes and hopes something happens, a miracle. But you, the player, pick the spell. But it's like the player's like, please, from the gods on high, please make something happen, and the spider god drops flame down on top of somebody, right? But the player character never sees it because they always have their eyes closed when they're praying for a miracle. That would be kind of cool. What about spiders that work with a monofilament like webbing, both sticky and ultra strong and thin, so it could be used to cut through stuff like steel as easily as pulling it through cheese? Ooh, hey, that might be the calling card of that could very easily be the calling card of a type of clan or something, like garrots, people getting garroted, garroted. What would be multiple of garrot without the T? Anyway, that could be the calling card of using like the thin spider silk or maybe there's a race, or maybe human beings or something in your world have spider silk as hair. Male, female, any pronies out there that have, like, maybe they all just grow this thin. They look bald from a distance, but as you get closer, the light captures their hair, and it's so thin and wispy and long that it's like a spider silk. Maybe they braid it. Their hair, their sideburns are braided. Maybe even even for the women, they have long like sideburns, and their eyebrows are very long and wispy, kind of like a classic the classic sensei or mentor from the old kung fu movies, where they have the long silvery goatee, and it's so thin that they just come across as being bored. Yeah, it was Drew brings up the swarm druid that's already created. Um, that would be kind of cool for a player character to be able to pull a web out and then use it as a weapon, or they're able to string it, lightly place it on a door handle or across a door, and then someone comes through it, it alerts them to what's going on, or attach it to a weapon that a small hand axe, and they throw it and no one sees it, but they pull the thread and pull it right back to them, or something like that. A small coin with a web attached to it, they throw it into a cup of a blind person to get some information. They pull it back out because they're friggin' thief. Mm-mm-mm. What clue does? Wow, spiders work for the goddess of lies. That might be a thing. Yeah. Hey, every time you tell a lie, you're one of ours. And it could get to the point where the person can't tell anything but a lie. Hmm. Caught in a web of lies. That's how they that's how they recruit to the faction or the cult. It's not that you it there are no willing members. They just fall into it and they can't not be a member because society pushes them out, and they can only get back their independence if they work for the spider. The Or maybe they just lose their minds and their brains gone. Their brain is goo, and it's only the hiding place because a spider crawls in there. Of course, a spider crawls in their mouth or in their nose and ear, and the little baby spiders feed upon the person's brain, getting all of their information. That could be how a uh, I could see spiders being represented as body snatchers, doppelgangers. Like instead of the clay like bodies of doppelgangers, maybe these spiders crawl into the orifices. Some of them mouths and nose, some of them other orifices, and takes over their bodies. And the players realize, wait a minute, this why did this NPC turn against us? Oh no! And using medicine or some other kind of forensic thing, they realized that their skull was just nothing but mush because they were just spiders living up in there. Mm-mm. Spoilers for Children of Time. Okay, in the end, the spiders go to space age. Spiders go to the space age and created giant geocentric space stations out of webbing, and then shoot giant rocks like slingshots with them. Ooh, I like little geodesics. Um, Geodesics in space. It's a type of space station, a big giant orb held together with spars, and then you have other small habitats inside the geodesic that people can live on, and then the framework, the spurs or spars or whatever framework inside the geodesic keeps it rigid, and that's where you can have people like traveling back and forth, or power, oxygen, um, uh, 3D printing materials pushed through it, and that kind of thing. The Day of Spiders, when you are tasked with dusting the Royal Library and things get interesting in the corners. Hell yeah. Yeah, collecting knowledge and such. I mean, spiders, who's to say that knowledge wasn't collected from the brains of dead people? But spiders living in and around a library, because maybe they're like moths and things trying to get into the library and eat the paper and the parchment, and the spiders are there to handle it. Um, I could kind of like how Mike Gould, he's got a reflavored mind flayers as like wasps. I think reflavoring them as spiders would work as well. I mean, having the changing the head of a mind flayer from a tentacled creature to a spider creature. The eyes, the mandibles, very easy to do, right? Yeah, Dead Man Idle Hands is a movie where a kid's hand gets possessed and becomes animated toward the end. Yeah. Ugh. Although that would be kind of nasty too for people to slowly transform, like in The Fly. Just imagine the monofilament web over a walkway, and even someone in full plate and chainmail hitting it full run would end up on the other side as pieces the shape and size of the holes in the web. Yeah, ouch. Sliced through like chunks. Ow. but sweet though. That would be kind of sweet. I mean, sure. Does it sound like insta death? Yes, but if the players know it exists, imagine a player wrestling with a monster, and whoever gets thrown through it first, or they both fall into it, or don't fall off a ledge and fall onto the monofilament webbing that's stronger than steel. Mm-mm-mm. Make a really good reason to find something that destroys the webbing while moving through passages, like a torch to make sure everything is burned so you don't cut off your own head. Now, that is a great idea for putting the danger in the player character's hands. Like literally have enemies that went before them or whatever, the adventurers that went into the dungeon and got chopped up, and the PCs are like, okay, wait a minute. So the web easily burns, but it's strong like steel, but it also cuts and it also entangles? And the answer is like, yep, roll a d4, see what happens to you. Be careful at rock concerts when those spider silk hair people are around. You will get nasty cuts when they start headbanging. Hell yeah. Yeah, don't make me start playing some System of a Down or something. Wake up, wake up. Grab a brush, put on a little makeup. Yeah. Dude. On the other hand, domesticating monofilament web producing spiders would mean shirts of silk that are as tough against knife and sword cuts as pure steel, many times thicker and heavier. Hell yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Imagine wrapping yourself in a spider silk cloak that just can't be pierced. That would be kind of cool. But can't be pierced, but is extremely vulnerable to fire. That would be a great um, curse benefit, magical, arcane, physical item to give someone. Like, hey, listen, this thing is going to make you extremely tough, but if you're exposed, like, you don't even have to fail a saving throw, right? You just if you get, or maybe if you are burned by anything and you fail like a dex save or whatever save it is, it burns up. Shadowrun has a couple of shamans that work with swarm mechanics. And listen, in a modern, high tech kind of idea setting, spiders dealing with electronics and nanotech, uh, pretty easily to imagine that, especially with little mechanical spiders. Like what is it? We've seen mechanical spiders in the first movie that comes to mind with a physical part of that is Minority Report, right? In Minority Report, we've seen Minority Report spiders. Let's see if we got in some images here. Yeah, in Minority Report, there were those they let out those spider drones. I think they were 3-legged drones, and they were running around an apartment complex or some kind of dwelling or something, going into people's apartments, and the police were just like, everyone's to get retinal scanned and whatnot, and things like that. And of course, Tom Cruise had to get he had brand new eyes installed, and he had to get retinal scanned because of it. But yeah, I mean, spider drones, pretty common. And why wouldn't spider drones exist in fantasy? We've got all kinds of clockwork mechanical constructs. The same could be said. Uh, Minority Report spiders are coming. Yeah, the same could be said for any number of things, right? Like where a not an alchemist per se, but a type of player character has these spiders that help them build their devices or something like that. Let's put this here. There we go. Such spider silk could be a rival easily to mithril. I think so. I think so. You would have to domesticate them though. That would be the hard part. Um, being a spider trainer, corraler. You have to have a name for what a grouping of spiders is, and I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know what that is. Yeah, the Matrix had those like spider type tentacle styled drone. Well, no, because they had other insectoid things. At the end of the third Matrix, they had like spider like things. One was inserted into Neo in the first movie. They had to extract it out of his belly button. So yeah, What about them feeding on the brains of a dead father or mother and take on the need to protect the children of the dead parent they fed on? Ooh, yeah. Very, these could be very undead related, right? Like, imagine, uh, like, imagine a transition of undeath with the spider being the host to create them. So at the end of its life, it's a skeleton with a spider in its chest cavity because it's empty now. But prior to that, it was a zombie, and it was feeding on its body at the person's body as it started to decay. And before that, it was mummified, maybe its body covered in its decaying body covered in spider silk instead of cloth wrappings, and the person is still has his intelligence and is using it. This could be the end result of a terrible curse or magic that should not be. Oracles that look into the time and space, pulling upon the web and weave of the spider muse, who's like, no, and you're going to become a mummy, but it's the mummification is different. Drew says, I want spider mummies now, which are half cocoons, since spider could be used for the preparation of the dead. Hell's yes. I love that idea. And again, a great way to do the BFF thing, putting one creature with another one. Um, Heck, maybe the pain, how wraiths and wights, WIGHT monsters are, uh, how a wraith can create a wight or a wight creates other wraiths, one or the other when they're killed. Imagine mummies do the same thing where they have a special ability where if you are injured by them, you can't heal, and you can't heal because you got spiders in your wound. And maybe this becomes a downfall of like wizardry or going into knowledge you shouldn't have, and then all of a sudden behind a person's eyes is like a spider seeming to crawl around behind their retina, and then all of a sudden it just gets worse and worse. And unfortunately, to live, you need the spiders to keep spinning the cocoon around the person's body, but then it's also killing them, but it also expands their brain out in their mind or something. Yeah. Tia says, yeah, they had spider-like entities like the one who grabbed Neo by the neck and disconnected him, if I recall, too. Yep, came right behind him, and it did that little spinning thing where it uh pulled the thing out of his head. Let's see if we could find an image of that. Neo extracted from let's see, from cocoon. Let's see if we can. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Yep. Yeah. It's in here somewhere where he's all naked. He's got all the cording and stuff like that inside of him, and he's grabbing the back of his neck, and it comes along and such. They even did I forgot they did the acupuncture on him as well. There it is, Scream Rant Matrix. They put that. Yeah, they dangled over. Maybe it wasn't quite spider like, but why the hell not, right? The Matrix, the agents had to bug Neo why it's not a plot hole. They also they also covered his mouth, which was kind of weird, but nasty. Um, and it could be maybe individuals who are touched by. We're going to get out of here pretty soon, but maybe individuals touched by these spider-like entities are um, because they are part of the web of spider-like entities, they are disconnected from the reality of everyone else. Phase spiders kind of fit into that mold where they both exist on the ethereal plane. They exist on the ethereal plane and the material plane and go back and forth. Maybe there's something where, or maybe there's even a player option, if you like, or maybe there are NPCs that have the ability to translate back and forth from the prime material plane to the ethereal plane because of their relationship or domestication or bonding with or possession by phase spiders or something like that. Yeah, it was more like a tick flat body with that eye that had a tiny monitor on it, but the legs were long segments, unlike the squiddies that had short segments, making them more like tentacles. Yep, yep. I heck, what's that? Maybe it's not a spider. There's something like a water strider, a little bug that floats on the top of water and can like skitter across the top of water. I mean, you could have spiders with extremely long legs, making hacking at their legs a little easier, Hydra like, but you can't really touch the body, um, something like that, or a troll like creature that heals, but you can tell it heals because of the spiders that knit its body back together again. So a troll could possibly be a living creature, but its flesh is basically spider silk that sometimes gets hacked or pierced, and spiders start to spin it back together from within, except acid and fire drive the spiders away, which causes it to harm. Or, or, what was I thinking? Spiders could pilot other monsters, like in their brain or their skull. And so while the player characters are fighting different types of monsters, it's really the spider entities that are controlling them and riding inside of them. Um, yeah, yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Um, Lastly, before I get out of here, on the day of spiders, how anyone or any of you would think this would fit into a particular day, like a festival or a celebration or a warning or fear. People, battening down the hatches, closing their doors off because the spiders will roam the city or the outlying area. Maybe this is the day when the spiders come across families and friends and tell them, like an oracle, tells them of the future, whether they like it or not. um, you guys let me know. By the way, if any of you have gotten this far, please like, share, subscribe if you like. If you like this kind of mind fuel, something to get the mind flowing for your ideas, for your setting or something, please stop by. We're doing this series. This channel has always been an idea you can steal. This is just happens to be one of them. Have fun out there, guys. Everyone, we're going a little bit late here. Everyone have a great day. Please, I will see thee tomorrow. And what is tomorrow, by the way? I don't know. Um, let's see if we can find out, because I don't even know myself. Let's see. Oops. Maybe I should know these things since I'm the one. Oh, the day of the wish is tomorrow. The day of the wish, kind of cool. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Maybe I should share this tab instead. Yeah. The day of the wish is tomorrow. It's a little bit hard to see that here, but you guys have a great one. I will see thee later. Have a great one. Peace.